Coming up this morning, a Worcester haemophilia campaigner says she's confident the new coalition government will take their compensation claims seriously. We'll catch up again with Colette Wintle. An opinion poll for the Local Government Association has revealed the areas of public spending people think should be protected, those they think should be cut, and who they want to decide on cuts to local services.
It seems to me our priorities are wrong, and we're told we're all in it together. But actually, I think what the government's doing gives away the fact that this is a government that is stacked full of millionaires, people who went to private schools who do not know what it's like to live in the breadline. And maybe that's why they are protecting their friends in the city and big business.
We also get the union's reaction to the poll from the local Unite representative. All that to come. Thanks for tuning in this morning. Great to have your company. A Worcester haemophilia campaigner says she's confident the new coalition government will take their compensation claims seriously. Colette Wintle caught hepatitis C from a blood transfusion along with thousands of others who were treated during the 1970s and 1980s. She's been fighting for the government to look into safety aspects of taking and giving blood and for compensation. She's with us in the studio this morning. Colette, nice to see you again. Obviously, new government, but how confident are you that they're actually going to take you seriously this time?
Well, we've had several sort of representations to the Prime Minister through letters. His response has been positive. Indeed, prior to the election, we had commitments from both the Lib Dem party, who actually included us in their manifesto, and David Cameron himself was highly critical of the last government's refusal to not only assist in the Lord Archer of Sandwell report, but to actually act on his recommendations. His own constituent met with him as recently as Saturday, and as I understand it, he's fully aware of the implications of what is required to be done, and as far as I know, is committed to doing just that. An urgent review was what he promised, and what we're asking of the coalition government is that both the Deputy Prime Minister and the Prime Minister follow through with their commitments. You've had a response from the Minister in charge of Public Health, and I understand you've been invited to, actually been to a meeting, so tell us what's happened. Yes, on Wednesday we had a large demonstration in London. I myself, along with two colleagues from the campaign coalition group who represent the wider voice of haemophiliacs who are fighting for compensation, were invited into a meeting with the head of blood policy, and we had a very interesting exchange of information. Some of the information that we made the civil servant aware of, they didn't appear to be conscious of the fact that even stigma is still a problem for people with these conditions. But it was a beginning of a dialogue which for some time now we have been asking for and have been refused. So I feel it's a starting point, but it's not the end. It's just the beginning of what I feel should be ongoing dialogue with the Department of Health. Is it the beginning of the last throw of the dice, really? Because, as I mentioned in the introduction, 70s and 80s this started with. You've had the report, and it quite clearly says that obviously the government was at fault here, but you're still not getting any further forward. Yes, but of course the other thing that was an advance and helped us a great deal was the fact that we actually won against the Secretary of State for Health a High Court judicial review only a couple of months ago, which was very clear in its findings that the government's interpretation of the situation in Ireland, I quote, was infected with error, and as I understand it, the government are not going to contest that. I think that they realise that they are and have been wrong, past governments have been wrong, and that they have a moral duty, at the very least, to now acknowledge the damage and harm that was caused to thousands of haemophiliacs, and that, we are dealing with the worst treatment disaster in the NHS that has cost the lives of 2,000 people. That has never been seen before in the history of the NHS, and I hope it never will be seen again. But nevertheless, there is still a duty to address the suffering and harm, as they did in Ireland. There is absolutely no difference. In fact, I have to say that in my case it's particularly interesting because I have cousins in Ireland who were put in the same position, but their government, unlike this government or the governments of the past, did acknowledge what went wrong, and indeed have put things right. I mean, they've at least had some form of closure. We've not had that in the UK. We've not even had an apology.
And just briefly, you've got an online campaign now set up. Just to explain where people can go if they're interested in supporting you.
Yes, that's right. There's several websites that they can go to. They can read the Archer report if they Google Lord Archer of Sandwell's name. There's also the Contaminated Blood website. And what I'm asking people to do is to get behind this sort of group of haemophiliacs who are fighting for their lives right now, and I include myself, to lobby their MP, write to their MP, ask their MP what they're doing to help us.
Colette Wintle, thanks for coming in, and we'll follow your story with interest. That's Colette Wintle, who caught hepatitis C from infected blood in the 70s and 80s. So many people affected by that. Will there be a conclusion to it? We shall see. We'll watch this space.